Last week, Dubai hosted the International Sports Conference under the theme of football and the economy. This is what we're discussing on today's edition of Inside AB. I'm Shruti Nair, and this is Bun de Boosman. Right, so Bernie, I assume that the conference that happened last week focused on the economic benefits of hosting major events, for example, the World Cup. So can you tell us more about what exactly was discussed?
They did. As part of the conference, they launched a report, the Dubai Sports Council launched a report which looked at different aspects of the economics of football. And one of the things they looked at was, like you said, the World Cup. So they found that at this last World Cup in Russia, there was a boost of between 2.4 and 4 billion to domestic consumption. Additionally, during that time, there was 1.5 million tourists who traveled to Russia, and on average, they spent between $5,000 and $8,000 on accommodations, souvenirs, food, entertainment. A lot of people, when I went, for example, I noticed a lot of people were there for 2 weeks or more. So it's quite an expense.
Yeah. You were there, were you?
I did.
Yeah.
To the France game, yeah. They also found that there was a 1% increase in Russia's average per capita income because so many businesses were doing well and so much was revolving around the tournament. And of course, a lot of these cities aren't necessarily major economic cities in Russia.
Right.
But it wasn't just Russia. In Croatia, which of course came in second because they lost to France in the final, the day of the final, there was a 250% spike in the number of visitors going to the Croatian Tourism Board's website.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'd actually seen a few Croatian tourism ads as well on TV.
They did, because the players kind of lent their names and faces to the Croatian Tourism Board. And in France, in June, there was a 40% spike in the number of televisions that were being sold. Because of course not everyone could go, so they wanted to see it at home. This is all quite substantial economic benefits for not just Russia, but for all the countries that were participating.
Of course, huge economic benefits. But what about when we talk about the club level? Are there any benefits coming out of that? And what did the report say about how the clubs are doing in terms of business?
Well, it's interesting. So the share value of professional football clubs around the world went up 11% between 1992 and 2016. But there are some challenges. A lot of these smaller clubs, some of which are listed on stock exchanges, they're facing a lot of trouble because, of course, billionaires around the world, a lot of them like to buy teams. They like to buy these huge, big-name players. They even build stadiums. That's going to cause a decline in the shares of professional clubs that aren't necessarily these huge, big-money teams. So what the report said was that they need to diversify, and they gave some examples. So FC Copenhagen, which is of course in Denmark, they saw a 47% increase in revenues between 1997 and 2008 because they bought a number of entertainment companies and fitness centers, which are now under the FC Copenhagen brand.
Okay. So it's branching out to different sectors, essentially.
It is. There's some other examples. In Turkey, Fenerbahce bought a retail clothing chain, which generates now over $34 million each year.
Oh, wow.
And their rival club, Galatasaray, has real estate, which led to its value on the Istanbul Stock Exchange going up.
Right. Very impressive figures. And again, like you said, there are just so many industries that are being affected by just this one sport that we're talking about right now. But again, we know that you interviewed the CEO of Liverpool FC, and Mo Salah, of course, is a huge part of that. So what does he have to say about the entire business standpoint of it?
Well, when you look at the Middle East, of course, Mo Salah is probably, I think it's fair to say, by far the most famous Arab footballer playing today. And not only that, but he's really, really, really good. As soon as he joined from AS Roma, they saw an immediate spike in visitors to the Liverpool website from a lot of people in Egypt, but also generally from across the Middle East, including the UAE, for example, places like that, Saudi Arabia. So he said it kind of broke down barriers with Arab fans. So what Liverpool is now doing is they're investing a lot in digital and social media outreach, to get not only people to, for example, buy merchandise, because how many kids here have a Mo Salah shirt, but in the long run, a lot of these people who are now interested in Liverpool are going to fly to Liverpool. They're going to go to Anfield to a game. They're going to stay in Liverpool. They're going to spend money. The more outreach they have with not just the Middle East, but all around the world, in the long run, that leads to more people spending money on Liverpool FC, not in Liverpool, online, buying shirts. You can buy a shirt in Abu Dhabi. They opened their first store there in 2016. So it's generally part of an outreach to get more business for the club.
Agree, and with a face like Mo Salah, it is definitely going to generate an impact. But thank you, Burnt, for that. Looks like football has helped economies across the world, and let's see what it can do to this region. This is what we discussed on today's edition of Inside AB. We will be back again tomorrow at 10 a.m. So don't forget to like, follow, share, and subscribe.